Welcome to The Silent Truth, the place where real stories whisper louder than words. If you've ever felt unseen, unappreciated, or underestimated, this story is for you. Stay until the end, because the truth always finds its voice. Music fades slightly. The story begins. I never imagined I'd reach a day when my own child would call me a burden. But life has a cruel way of testing the very limits of a mother's heart. I'm 67 years old. My husband passed away 3 years ago, a gentleman who built this house with his hands and loved his family more than his own breath. When he died, I told myself I'd be fine. My son, Michael, had promised he'd always take care of me. "You'll never be alone, Mom," he said at the funeral, holding my hand so tightly I thought he meant it. But promises, they fade faster than flowers on a grave. After my husband's passing, I tried to stay strong. I cooked, I tended the garden, I even joined a book club. But over time, things began to shift. Michael and his wife, Claire, started visiting less often. Calls became shorter. Birthdays turned into text messages. And then one day, he showed up with a suggestion, or rather, a decision. "Mom," he said, sitting me down at the dining table, "this house is too big for you. You should sell it and move into a retirement community. You'll be happier there." Happier. I smiled, politely. But inside, I knew what he really meant. "You think I'm a burden," I said softly. He didn't deny it. He looked away, pretending to study the wood grain on the table. "It's not like that, Mom. It's just practical. You'll be taken care of. And Claire and I could use some help with the kids' school fees." That's when I knew. It wasn't about my happiness. It was about convenience and money. I told him I'd think about it. That night, I sat in the quiet of the house my husband built and cried. Every wall whispered memories, his laughter in the kitchen, our anniversary dinners, the way he used to hum when fixing the leaky faucet. I wasn't ready to let go. Not of him. Not of us. So I made a decision of my own. Weeks passed. I acted normal. I invited Michael and his family for dinner, just like old times. I cooked his favorite meal, roast chicken with rosemary and lemon, mashed potatoes, and that apple pie he used to love as a boy. When they arrived, everything seemed peaceful. But the air was heavy. I could feel the tension underneath their polite smiles. Dinner started quietly. Claire complimented the pie. The kids scrolled on their phones. And then, halfway through the meal, Michael raised his glass. He smiled, but there was something sharp behind it. "To the burden at this table," he said. The words hung in the air like smoke. Claire gasped. The kids looked up. My heart stopped, not from pain, but from realization. My son, the baby I once held against my chest, had just reduced me to a burden. I didn't say a word. I just nodded, my hands trembling slightly as I set my fork down. I let him finish his toast. When he was done, I smiled. "Are you finished?" I asked softly. He frowned. "What do you mean?" I stood up, walked to the hallway, and opened the front door. A man in a dark suit stepped inside, holding a leather folder. Michael's confusion turned to concern. "Mom, what's this?" "This," I said, "is Mr. Lawson. He's the notary." Michael blinked. "The notary? Why?" I gestured for Mr. Lawson to sit. He opened the folder and pulled out several documents. "Mrs. Bennett has asked me to finalize some transfers today," he said professionally. Michael's face turned pale. "Transfers? What transfers?" I took a deep breath. For months, I've been thinking about the future. About who truly values this family, and what your father would have wanted. He interrupted me. "Mom, what are you talking about?" I looked at him, straight in the eye. "I'm talking about this house, Michael. And everything your father left behind." His eyes widened. "You're not seriously?" "Oh, I am." I smiled. "You see, after your little speech tonight, I realized something. I don't owe you my home. I don't owe you my peace. And I certainly don't owe you my dignity." Claire tried to calm him, but Michael stood up, his face red with anger. "You can't just give everything away, Mom. I'm your son." "I know," I said gently. "That's what makes this so sad." Mr. Lawson handed me a pen. I signed the papers carefully, each stroke steady and deliberate. Michael watched, frozen. "Who are you giving it to?" he demanded. I looked toward the doorway, where a young woman entered quietly, my neighbor, Lily. She'd been the one checking on me every week, bringing groceries, mowing the lawn when my arthritis flared up. Lily has been more of a daughter to me than you've been a son, I said calmly. I've decided to transfer ownership of the house to her, under the condition that I may live here peacefully for the rest of my life. Michael's jaw dropped. You're insane. You can't do that. The notary looked up. Legally, she can. These documents have been prepared and witnessed properly. Michael turned to me, his voice breaking. Mom, how could you? How could I? I repeated softly. How could you, Michael? You called me a burden. You made me feel like my existence was an inconvenience. He slumped into his chair, speechless. Then Mr. Lawson cleared his throat. There's one more detail, Mrs. Bennett. I nodded. Go ahead. He looked directly at Michael. Your father's will included a conditional trust, one that only becomes active under specific circumstances. Michael frowned. What are you talking about? Mr. Lawson smiled faintly. Your father foresaw that love might be tested by greed. He included a clause, any heir who disrespects or abandons his surviving parent forfeits their inheritance. The room went silent. Michael's eyes darted between us. You're lying. It's all here, Mr. Lawson said, tapping the papers. And Mrs. Bennett has just invoked that clause with her signature. Michael's voice cracked. You can't do this to me. I stood up, my voice calm but firm. The three words that changed everything, Michael, the ones Mr. Lawson just said, were simple. I paused, looking at him with all the love and pain a mother could hold. Clause invoked, son. Those three words sealed his fate. He stared at me in disbelief, realizing that in one evening, everything he had counted on, the inheritance, the house, the control, was gone. Claire put her hand on his arm, whispering something I couldn't hear. He didn't respond. He just sat there, silent, defeated. The notary gathered his papers and left quietly, closing the door behind him. I stood there for a long time, feeling the weight of years lift from my shoulders. Michael looked up at me finally. So that's it. You're cutting me off. I sighed. No, Michael. I'm freeing you. Maybe now you'll learn what real burden feels like, the burden of regret. He left without another word. Claire followed him, her eyes full of apology. When the door shut, I sank into my chair, the same one where my husband used to sit. The house was quiet again, but this time, it wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. Lily stayed behind to help me clean up. You sure you're okay? She asked softly. I smiled. I've never been better. We washed the dishes together in silence, and as the warm water ran over my hands, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, freedom. Weeks later, I received a letter. It was from Michael. The handwriting was shaky, uncertain. He wrote, Mom, I was wrong. I let pride and money blind me. I miss you. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it in my husband's old desk drawer. Maybe one day I'll forgive him completely. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Sometimes, the people we love the most are the ones who wound us deepest. But sometimes, standing up for yourself, even against your own blood, is the only way to heal. That night, I sat by the window, looking at the stars. I whispered to my husband's memory, I did what you would have done. A breeze rustled through the curtains, and for a moment, I could almost hear his voice, I'm proud of you. I smiled. Because for the first time in a long time, I was proud of myself too. Soft piano music rises again. If you've ever been made to feel like a burden, remember this, you are not a weight to be carried. You are a soul to be cherished. Sometimes, the truth doesn't need to be shouted. Sometimes, it only needs to be signed, sealed, and delivered in silence.